Welcome, brave souls, to another haunting chapter of Ghost Girl Diaries, where the supernatural awaits, transmitting from the other side, where paranormal meets glamour. I'm your host this evening, Crystal Leandra, the Queen of the Dead, a paranormal filmmaker and investigator, and the glam behind the ghost hunt. Here we dive into spine-chilling hauntings, explore the unknown, and uncover the secrets across the most haunted locations in the world. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, you're in for a thrill. So grab your EMF meter, your crystals, and your cross, because things are about to get supernatural with a little bit of glam. Let's get haunted. This is Ghost Girl Diaries.
Hopefully you have recovered from last week, and that was a pretty intense. There is so much movement in my office right now. I'm so sorry. I'm going to do a scrying session after this, and it's like, they obviously can't wait, but I'm going to keep getting distracted. Something's on my left side, and I keep thinking animals in here. The only dog in here is Theo. There's no animals over there. I had to get up and look because I just keep hearing movement. So I'm just going to hope it's the spirit team. Welcome to Ghost Girl Diaries, where glamour meets the ghostly. And the veil here is always just a little bit thinner than what they want you to believe. Tonight, I'm your host, Crystal Leandra, stylist, medium, haunted muse, and your guide into the underworld. Here we discuss all things paranormal, mystical, and sometimes, like last week, I get a little bit unhinged. Today we're talking about something really important, and this piggybacks off of last week's episode. So I know last week was heavy. We talked about, the king that wrote the Bible that caused the patriarchy problems, and it's going to roll over in today, which is sort of the death of the ghost bro era. And here's why the same old ghost shows are now crumbling and how it will never be able to be rebuilt again. I also want to talk about why the term paranormal investigator just isn't enough anymore, and why psychic mediumship is the future, because this is 2.0 paranormal. And not just for psychics, but for all of us to tap into our intuition. Because this is not about proving that ghosts exist anymore. We've already done that. This is about remembering you are the portal. And maybe, just maybe, the other side and spirits have been waiting for us to evolve. So light a candle, open your mind and your heart. Let's talk about this new mediumship revolution, the one that's already begun, whether the patriarchy likes it or not. So I want to talk about how I came up with this concept. I talked to some of my medium friends, my spiritualist friends, my producer friends, okay? And what triggered this at me being a producer in television? My question was, why do most men, except for Chip Coffey, identify as a paranormal investigator and not a physical medium? But yet women like Amy Allen or Long Island Medium refer to themselves as psychics or mediums. So there's a bias going on. There's a gender bias happening in paranormal television. There's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, last week we discussed the core of it. There's another thing that I think you guys need to know, just being a producer and understanding television. I don't want to do any name drops. If you're bored, I want you to do the deep dive on your own, okay? But you can also just take my word for it. So I'm not talking about the producers. I'm not talking about the executive producers. I'm not even talking about the production companies. I'm talking about the owners of the networks are usually very old money billionaires, okay? They do maintain an image within the network. And most of these billionaire families that own the networks are very religious. They're either Jewish or Christian or Catholic, okay? So keeping that in mind, I'm going to say the next thing. So many people ask me, Crystal, if you were a producer in production, why do all of the TV shows that we see all fear demons, and it's all about demons coming up out of it? Yes, it's the patriarchy. Yes, it's the patriarchy. It's religious trauma. And it's also the owners of the networks have an image they want to maintain. And it is fear within their own religion and projecting that onto the public to sort of try to instill fear into the public, to maintain the image of like, yes, demons exist, demons are dangerous, and anything you interact with is a demon. So It's a control within the media a little bit, right? And we kind of saw, the reason I'm bringing this up now and I haven't before, was we kind of saw that when Jimmy Kimmel got canceled, right? The owners of the network are very religious. They're very Republican. They didn't like what he said and they canceled him immediately for it because they are trying to maintain an image. Do you see what I'm saying? Within their cultural belief, their religious belief. So a lot of people say, why wouldn't they sign a show positive and about the, the beautiful side of interacting with the other side, and that it's not all demons and darkness? It will never happen for this reason. It will never happen, which is why I've been preaching to you for the past year or two, that Paranormal 2.0 will be digital. It will be the rise of digital creators. It will not be the return of cable. I think cable's dying anyways, but the masks are falling. People are understanding that controlling is happening on a deeper level. Like I just said, the owners of the networks are pushing another question I get, Alex, I love her. She was on this LGBTQ, the only LGBTQIA paranormal show, and it won awards with Kristen Stewart. I mean, Kristen Stewart has a lot of money, so she can make it well, right? Which is why she won cinematography awards. I was so excited because that was really one of the first and only paranormal shows that has won cinematography awards. And then if it gets awards on Hulu, then why did it get canceled? Well, isn't Hulu owned by ABC? And yes, they like to, with Disney, be a little bit forward with diversity, but I think it was too much too fast and it was canceled. So now you guys know why Paranormal 2.0 will not be cable-based. Now, let's reel that back a little bit. I want to talk about the difference between a physical medium and a psychic medium and just straight up mediumship, okay? I want to define these terms so that I can conjure them with clarity for you. Let's talk about psychic medium first. This person uses ESP. You just get information. I don't know where the information came from. It just came to me. You receive messages from spirit, from your spirit team, from the other side, from the field energy around you. You may receive clairvoyant images, clairsentient feelings. Clairsentient could be smell, it could be taste, it could be body tingles. Clairaudient, you might hear sounds, all of the clairs, okay? This person typically sits and channels into direct mental status of sort of what's going on, or even emotional downloads around them. There are no physical manifestations that are needed. It's just coming to this person. What is a physical medium? This is where things get kind of spooky. A physical medium can cause tangible phenomena. A physical medium can ask for a knock and get a knock. A physical medium can request an object to move by a spirit and it moves. A physical medium can see or even help manifest ectoplasm inside of a room. You can get rap tap. Remember the Fox sisters? You can see, witness, or be a part of levitation, voice phenomena, DVP, EVPs, millimeters. You are acting as a physical channel through spirit. Some may even say a physical medium is more powerful than a psychic medium. Why? Because a physical medium is literally using the energy in the room as a channel for source, where a psychic medium isn't. They're just sitting there getting downloads mentally. What's mediumship? I mean, really, it encompasses both physical and mental. It's an umbrella term. But the medium acts as the middle person between here and there. So what does this mean when we're talking about paranormal investigators? Are paranormal investigators actually physical mediums? Yes, the answer is yes. But most of the time, especially if they're men, they're not going to admit it. Why? Because they have to question everything with science. I just got this. And I'm not going to lie, I have been the same way. I also love technology, because you're using the technology as a tool for channeling, whether that is a digital recorder, a millimeter, a REM pod, a spirit box. You are using that as a channel. I mean, let's really break this down, right? Spirit boxes are a direct version of DVPs, direct voice phenomena, in real time. REM pods or millimeters respond to EMF meters or fluctuations in the atmosphere, which could be manipulated by spirit if asked. SLS cameras literally are new technology to be able to project and create an image of a person standing in front of us. It is digital visibility. EVPs, collecting direct disembodied voices. All of these tools are extensions of the person using them to contact the other side. That is a physical medium. It's so funny because when I've trained investigators, I've always said this. One of my investigators might be really good with the Ouija board, where another one's really good with the millimeter. Everybody has their own thing that they're good at. If you're an investigator, think about that. You have to have the same thing happen in your group. Maybe only you can use the digital recorder. Anytime so-and-so has the camera, we catch shadows everywhere, right? You are the conduit. You become the physical medium between realms. You are literally giving permission and outsourcing your body as a physical gadget to the other side. Think of it like a psychic wearing night vision goggles. You are the tool that amplifies it and makes it visible. So why don't investigators call themselves mediums if this is the case? Let's just call it what it is. It's patriarchal conditioning, it's gender coding, and it's religious trauma, all wrapped up into one. For some reason, our society has historically called mediumship feminine. I mean, think back, Victorian seances, always led by women. God forbid a macho ghost hunter come in and he's lumped into some emotional turmoil, right? We can't make it look emotional. We have to make it look like those ghosts are coming up out of that hole to get me. And I'm a tough paranormal investigator and I'm skeptical. I use scientific equipment. Okay, but you're still a physical medium. Masculinity in Western culture has been completely trained to suppress vulnerability completely and not have intuitive openness and not connect to their divine feminine. Because in fear, it can make you too emotional and you'll lose your masculinity. How many times do we see guys that are paranormal investigators on TV and something happens, nothing particularly, they're just like, I don't know why I'm crying, dude. I'm just really upset right now. I'm sorry. They're just apologizing all over themselves and they're embarrassed because society has told them to not be vulnerable emotionally. And by doing that, they're also blocking the channel that's coming through of something or someone trying to tell them something from the other side, but they're blocking it because they're trying to push it away and be masculine. Vulnerability and intuitive openness are both key traits into spiritual sensitivity. You have to use it or else the channel gets blocked. So instead of saying, I felt the spirit, the men are more likely to say, I asked it to light the device up. In other words, it was the spirit party, not you being the middleman. Are you forgetting that if you wouldn't have asked that spirit or taught the spirit how to use the millimeter, it wouldn't have actually, in fact, lit it up? It wouldn't have known that it could come up to the device and communicate with you? You are the conduit. And it kind of goes back into what is socially and even psychologically acceptable in our society due to patriarchal conditioning, right? It is safer to say the gear did it or the ghost did it than to admit that you knew something was happening or you felt something coming in. And this is where there's this awkward cultural divide between science and spirit, although one can't exist without the other. Paranormal investigators that title themselves often try to stay in the scientific lane. EMF readers, thermal imaging cameras, night vision cameras, data only. I have to have proof. But spiritualism, that's too woo for other people. They may not be authentic. They might be lying. We have to back it up with evidence. And also, mediumship makes the experience of connecting with the other side or the phenomena personal and subjective. You can't measure that in hertz. You can only measure it in vibes. And honest to God, I think that terrifies some people. So they default to tech and not heart. And there's a religious trauma and there's a fear of a stigma, right? Mediumship has been demonized by mainstream media for how many years? You're possessed by the devil. I mean, a lot of paranormal investigators do have spiritual belief systems, but they don't want to be seen as dabbling in something that could be considered demonic in our society. So they completely disconnect themselves from the word physical medium, and it's also a patriarchal issue, and strictly go the paranormal investigator route. But then you kind of ask yourself as an investigator, me, when I'm hiring all these people, and I've had people go and everyone has different abilities with different tools. This is spiritual fingerprint theory. Some investigators work great with the spirit box, but then they take the Ovilus and nothing happens. Some use a REM pod and it goes off like crazy, but can't get a single physical knock on the door. Why? Because each single person is their own frequency, your aura, your nervous system, and I mean, probably even your belief system will determine what kind of channel you are. And not every two are alike, which is why it's called a fingerprint. But this is why ghost hunting is so inconsistent, right? People think that the equipment works on the outside. No, it works through you. You're a conductor. So think about it. If a REM pod goes crazy when this one specific investigator walks in the room, that investigator is the battery. You're not just documenting the haunting. You are the haunting. Those entities wouldn't be there or be communicating through that device if it weren't through that one specific channel. Physical mediumship isn't just a Victorian relic. It happens right now on every show we're seeing. Unfortunately, it's been a little bit gagged and sterilized because of so much scientific tech and gadgets. Have they diluted it a little bit? Maybe. Buried under the patriarchy's dusty ass boot. But it's time to reclaim it. And men alike. Paranormal investigation, I'm going to say it, is not separate from mediumship. It is mediumship. It is literally mediumship camouflaged under utility belts, tough men, and EMF detectors. I also think that if you were to talk to parapsychologists, they would think that paranormal investigators were also physical mediums. But it's just been adopted into this, I have to prove it through the science side for some reason. I have to prove it through an instrument, where the spiritual side has been around for hundreds of years. Maybe we had to have mainstream media to prove it so that we can go back to its origin. I mean, let's talk about parapsychology for a minute. I mean, it's a scientific side of the occult, right? Parapsychology literally means the scientific study of the unexplained. Think ESP, telepathy, precognition, telekinesis, anything you could have or associate yourself with to be crazy for, right? Labeled as crazy by society. Parapsychologists do believe in mediums and psychic abilities, but usually they want to study it under a controlled environment. The scientific method demands observation, repeatable results, but unfortunately, spiritual phenomena is often like intimate. It's unpredictable, a one-off thing. It can be emotional, even subjective. It kind of creates a crisis in parapsychology. If parapsychology admits that it's real, then it could be too woo for science. If it denies the subject experience, it betrays its own origins that basically come from spiritualism of the 1800s. And it's kind of like reinforcing the same disconnection that paranormal investigators have. The scientific masculine versus the spiritual feminine. Two very distinct sides in paranormal. Science is masculine coded. It's male. It's 3D. It's rational. It's objective. It's dominant and it's linear, always needing the same result over and over again. Spiritualism is feminine coded, intuitive, emotional, receptive, non-linear, may not have the same data outreach every single time in the end with result. And for the last few centuries, when you're discussing this related to Christianity or even Catholicism, the masculine was always crowned king. Spiritualism, the feminine side was demonized. It was feminized, it was burned at the stake, and it was exorcised. So if you even consider parapsychology, there's a subconscious divide to sort of clean up mediumship, to make it respectable, which often means going to the science side, stripping it of its emotion, stripping the divine feminine, and stripping the subjective nature. And it's wild because even paranormal investigators and parapsychologists, they use tools. It still is the same tools that create masculine approved ways only. They're both distancing themselves from the divine feminine. There's rebuttals on both sides if you think about it. There's one rebuttal that says extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Okay, but who decides what qualifies as evidence? Isn't thousands of years of ghost stories enough evidence for something? Also, psychic phenomena doesn't always play by lab rules. Really, the other side doesn't have anything to prove. It doesn't need your rules. Spirits don't clock in from 9 to 5 just to have a discussion with you. And they're also not puppets to be here and just give you the same repetition answer over and over again. They show up when the veil is thin. They show up when they want to, when the energy's right, when the right conduit is there, and the medium is receptive. The spiritual side rebuttal. Just trust the feeling. Trust the download from the universe. Great, but without discernment, without framework, we risk a blind belief. Maybe people won't believe you or understand what you're getting at. Spiritualism without grounding can veer into delusion or manipulation like cults. So what happens? Both sides have to meet in the middle somehow. And that sort of brings us to my thesis for this podcast. Why paranormal investigators are unconscious mediums. I mean, if you think about it, I'm creating a space right now that's never been bridged before. No one's ever talked about this. And I want this to hit home with my investigators, my spiritualists, because this isn't just about investigating and telling a ghost story. You're a voice. You're a conduit to the unseen, to the misunderstood, to the mediums in denial. That's all of you. It's like psychics wearing night vision goggles. They're blocking their third eye because they have to have proof through the goggles. And then you have parapsychologists who are like, yeah, maybe she really did see a ghost. I don't know. I feel like I'm stepping into my haunted philosopher era. The glam skeptic, the dark feminine messenger. Now that not only I've seen the social media side, but I've also seen the film side. And unfortunately, I've seen the dark patriarchal side of paranormal. Here's the formula that's tired and it needs to go. The male-dominated teams and crew. Tech over intuition. Provocation over reverence. Fear-based storytelling. It's not always a effing demon. Shut up. And I am so sick of the narrative. I'm just trying to prove ghosts are real. Newsflash, we already know they're here. We already know the veil is thin. And for people that don't believe, that's their own journey. You're not here to prove that to them. The second someone has a real life experience with paranormal and the occult on the other side, they will never question it again. That's up to them. That's not up to you to prove it. I mean, think about it seriously. Skeptics are starting to soften up a little bit. Science is poking around with the idea that quantum mechanics, quantum science exists. Consciousness studies exist. Matter exists. Energy is not created nor destroyed. What happens when we die if we're not created nor destroyed? So what's left though? Like what now? The next phase is consciousness connection. I'm not saying to not use paranormal equipment. I'm just saying to start trusting your intuition more, because I personally think it would look a whole lot cooler if a medium or a psychic was interacting with someone and there was a night vision camera rolling and it was watching you and it was proving it that way. I'm also so tired of the holding the millimeter. If you're here, can you make it beep? If you're in a haunted location, I'm sure they're like, yeah, we're here. This is my house. What do you think? Can't you come up with some better questions? It's time to prove that we can all connect on both sides, in the 3D, the 5D, and the other side. We have to take mediumship and mysticism and activate it simultaneously. You're not just filming a haunting, you're communing with spirit. You're understanding the why, and realize that the power isn't in the gear, it's the person holding it. We don't need more haunted dolls. We need more haunted mirrors like you and me. The kind of people that show us who we really are underneath the programming. And a lot of times when I've investigated, these people don't even know they're dead. Shouldn't we be doing some sort of good in the world to try to help them realize that they're stuck in the gray zone and they need to go home to their friends and family? Wouldn't you want that for yourself or your own friends and family? It's time to rebrand the paranormal investigator. Goodbye to the paranormal investigator. It's the age of the channel, the age of the channeler. It doesn't just have to be technology. It can be tarot cards. It can be pendulums. It can be REM pods, even dreams. I'm a dream walker. It's not about tools. It's about tuning your own specific channel to figure out what works best for you when interacting with the other side. So we're going to take ghost hunting bros in tactical vests and move towards modern mystics that are exploring consciousness, vibration, intention, and even healing. The next wave isn't about, is it haunted? It's about, why is this spirit here? Can I help? What can we learn from this or them? What happens when you die? What are we capable of once we've acknowledged our mediumship abilities? That's liberation. That's revolution. That's the kind of TV shows I would watch. The patriarchy is going to struggle through this, but they're going to have to wake up. There is a masculine identity crisis happening within the paranormal field. Most men in our society are raised in this doctrine of don't cry, don't feel, don't be intuitive, don't be sad, don't be smushy. That's for the girls. You're weak if you do that. So they used tactical vests and all of this tech as armor, metal boxes that beep instead of soft hearts that open. That's not human. You have to start with accepting you're already channeling. You have to admit that your body is a vessel and a channel for the unseen energies. And you have to learn that it's okay to connect with your divine feminine without choking on it. We all have masculine and feminine energy in us. But unfortunately, the society we've been raised on, thank you fucking King James, has caused all of us, including women, to go into our masculine energy. And if you want to be this next wave of paranormal, it's just not going to work. You have to go through a lower card ego death to get to this next level. But here's the thing that I'm not worried about. The smart ones will evolve. The ones not living in ego will evolve. And this goes for both men and women alike. Because I'm not saying you need to become a psychic like Sylvia Brown. That's not what I'm saying. You already have intuitive abilities, so learn to tune them in like a radio. You already channel, you just forgot. And when men start to realize that this sensitivity is a superpower and not a weakness, that's when the paranormal field will go straight to its golden age. You know, one thing I've noticed is the industry needs a voice like me for change because of like the dark stuff that I've seen of like just patriarchal and women not having a chance. And just remember, like, yes, I'm girly and I'm feminine, I'm esoteric, I'm empirical, but I'm also someone who can speak ghost and goddess. Like, I'm not this petite, dainty feminine that can't go ghost hunting in a haunted asylum. That's bullshit. See where the patriarchy has done to us? The men have to be really tough and they can't tune into their spiritualism. And the women are just too girly to do the job. I'm sick of both. It's time we rise together. And honestly, it's okay to realize that as an investigator, you're haunted. And that's beautiful too. The future of paranormal is online, not on TV. There's a lot of reasons for this. Networks filter, they sanitize the evidence. Content is created and curated for broad audiences, especially with the owners of the networks having religious tactics in mind. They only push fear-based narratives, haunted, possessed, demonic. This avoids spiritual truth altogether. But unfortunately, this also challenges the patriarchal norm, religious dogma, and scientific rigidity, and they don't want that either. They prioritize the character and the drama. I'm gonna lock you in there by yourself, bro. And they don't recognize that there's entertainment value or soul expansion that could come from this. It's an empire that these networks are not going to tap into. The online space will give you this: full creative control, authenticity and not performances. No ghost bros here. Allows niche audiences to gather, not just for the masses. And you and your audience can grow and evolve together. Because with your audience, you feel comfortable talking about your spiritual side, your intuition, your feminine power, and your feminine healing in both men and women alike. This is all the things that networks will not touch on. TV ghost shows are old, they're bored. The internet tells soul stories. We're now in the era of watching decentralization of paranormal narrative in real time. We're talking about YouTube, Patreon, and podcasts. We can't wait for the shift. We have to be the shift. Men have got to learn to be brave enough to say, I'm a medium. And that will be a literal goddamn spiritual reckoning. But with that comes mass responsibility, right? This is unlearning 2,000 plus years of spiritual and religious suppression. You're literally together as a together as a genre, we will be internalizing and dismantling misogyny together. You have to reframe intuition as strength, not weakness. It's like being comfortable with saying, I feel something, I sense something. It doesn't make me any less of a man. It's not about becoming feminine or becoming gay, becoming whole and stepping into your higher self. We all have masculine and feminine. Masculine is action, logic, structure, strategy. Feminine is intuition, emotion, receiving, and embodiment. And I am going to say this, and I'm going to hold your hand. But if a man can't claim his intuitive gifts without shame, he's not being strong. He's being imprisoned by the system that's created him. And if you have a man who does step up and say, I'm a medium, I feel spirit, I channel messages, that man becomes a beacon and a liberator for others. He cracks open the next cage of the next generation of boys and men who want to be brave and do ghost hunting, but do it with reverence. The movement's already begun. We can't stop it, right? The old shows are dying. The narrative is already shifting online. The next evolution is integration, where tech meets intuition, science meets soul, and the divine feminine now will need to rise within everyone. This isn't just a trend. This is a paradigm. This is a paradigm shift. It has to come from brave men, brave creators, even like me. To say mediumship is not gendered. It's human. It's embodying your higher self, and it's time we treat it that way. Bravery is going to be required. We are dismantling a toxic system made from Catholicism and Christianity that made mediumship evil. Science made it irrational. The patriarchy made it feminine and weak. I swear to God, if I hear another person call themselves a demonologist, I'm going to throw up on them. These illusions of these titles like investigator, researcher, analyst, empath, or demonologist, they're safety nets, right? They're padded cells for spiritual people who are afraid of naming it for what it is, mediumship. How do we change this narrative? Let's stop saying intuition is feminine and just say it's human. Stop giving things gender roles. My God, I'm so sick of it. Holy shit. You do not lose your masculinity by opening up and reclaiming your wholeness. That is crazy. That is so stupid. I don't know why the term demonology just pisses me off more than anything. Like, sir, you're wearing cargo pants. You're holding a REM pod and you're yelling, show yourself, at a Victorian ghost child. But please, by all means, tell me how you studied demonology on YouTube and tell me how spiritually qualified you are to banish Beelzebub. In my opinion, the term demonologist is code for I'm terrified of feelings. I refuse to admit that I'm sensitive. So I'll mask it by labeling it with everything spooky and evil that I can to make me look tough. Like, honestly, I've tapped into Annabelle. I've never met her publicly, but I've tapped into her because I've been trying to work on psychometry, which is a parapsychological thing where you look at an image and you can feel that person's energy or speak with that person or feel their essence. And I actually don't think Annabelle's demonic. I think it's an egregore, which is a chaos witch. We'll talk about this later too in another podcast. That's something that the masses can sort of summon and put energy into, which I wouldn't doubt Tony Spera helped stir that up more, but because I just feel like he's the evil uncle for 13 Ghosts, and I will stand by that for the rest of my life. But Annabelle, here's my take on Annabelle. Yes, there's something, I'm not going to use the term evil, angry or violent in her, but I don't think it's a person. I think it's an energy, okay? I just saw her move behind me. I don't like that at all. Could have swore I just heard like a little girl go. She can manifest into a being and a thing, but in my opinion, I hear footsteps. Great, oh my God. In my opinion, she, the doll, was a child's toy that witnessed some sort of horrific abuse. And I don't know what that abuse was. I don't tap into dark stuff like that. I don't know if it was schmexual. I don't know what kind of abuse it was, but it witnessed some horrific abuse that was done over and over to this child. It could have been physical, mental, emotional. And it also witnessed, I felt like a pain on my shoulder, like a stab or a cut or an axe. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but she also witnessed the person doing this. Okay. So I think She has merged energies with the person who harmed and the person that they harmed. So now it's become a little girl energy with a dark man, masculine, violent energy. And that's what people sense within the doll. Okay. I do believe the more you fear it, the more it will manifest for you. I'm not afraid of dark stuff. I told you dark stuff runs from me, but that's what the collective has been taught to believe is all of the movies have been made. Technically, that's egregores, which are energies that chaos witches or they can summon to create like an individual energy. And the more the collective believes in it, it becomes true, which once again, we can get into that later. But I'm going to still blame the patriarchy, the masculine energy for creating what Annabelle is. And once again, I think if you really did some deep studies into this doll, it wouldn't just be a Raggedy Ann doll. You would be realizing there was a child energy in there that had really been harmed and might now be imprisoned from the masculine energy that hurt her. Which route would you rather take? Helping that child be free from the prison or remaining in fear of the dark energy that has her imprisoned? I would rather help the child escape. That is masculine versus feminine intuition, power, and channeling. Thank you for stepping into the shadows with me today. If this episode stirred something within your spirit, please feel free to share it. Tag someone who needs to know that it's okay to call yourself a medium. It's okay to be intuitive and it's okay to be whole. We're not just here to be ghost hunters anymore. We are here to be translators, ghost translators, helping translate the other side. We're intuitive architects. We're mystics in combat boots. And we're not going to sit around and wait for permission from television networks to show ourselves anymore. Don't forget to subscribe to Ghost Girl Diaries. Of course, we're on all streaming service networks, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of them that you can even imagine. You can always go to ghostgirldiaries.com to find all the links. Of course, we're here at my home on YouTube's growing really fast. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Leave me a review if you're feeling witchy, especially on Spotify. I love my reviews on Spotify. And if you want to go deeper, come to my Patreon Underworld Diaries. I haven't uploaded there in a minute because I've been sick, but I do have scrying sessions on there. And I also have my YouTube subscription set up. If you subscribe to the $5.99 YouTube subscription, that one will also have access to all of my private scrying sessions and private ghost hunts. It's exclusive content only, weekly voice memos and digital downloads. It's the kind of spiritual tea that I don't serve in public. And until next time, stay haunted, stay beautiful, stay goth and glam. And remember, the veil is not something that you have to cross. It's something you've already been carrying inside of you. Catch you guys on the next one.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Ghost Girl Diaries. Thank you so much for joining me in my crypt. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the ghostly adventures continue. And also don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms. You can search for Crystal Leandra or Ghost Girl Diaries. Please support me on both. This is where you can catch exclusive content, behind the scenes footage, and stay up to date on all things paranormal and glam. And as always, stay curious, stay fearless, and stay spooky. And I'll catch you next time on Ghost Girl Diaries, where the dead never rest, and neither do we. Until then, my ghoulish friends, sweet screams.